Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Hazel Anderson. I'm about to celebrate my 30th birthday. Currently, my home is shared with my husband Phillip, who is 5 years my senior, and our 5-year-old son. We are a close, knit family of 3. Today, I'm accompanying Phillip to a wedding ceremony of individuals he calls friends. They hold a stronger connection with him than with me, and I only recognize them by appearance. The ceremony is hosted in a luxurious 5-star hotel, capturing my attention with its opulence. While Phillip engages with familiar faces at the event, I take a brief moment to visit the restroom. On my return to the main event, I happen upon an unpleasant and snide remark directed at me. "Oh, look at that flawed creature. Why are they here?" A voice sneered, followed by another dismissive voice. Indeed, why is such a person here without an invitation? It felt like the disparagement was intentional and loud enough for me to hear. Though the disparagement was overt and insulting, none of these individuals addressed me directly. Opting not to engage with such impolite behavior, I chose to swiftly vacate the vicinity. As I made my exit, the sound of quick footsteps echoed behind me, followed by a harsh voice demanding attention. "Hey, you ugly thing, can't you hear me?" I ignored the provocation, thinking to myself, my name is not you ugly thing. But to my surprise, a hand suddenly grasped my arm in pursuit. It was a firm hold causing pain. "Stop, I'm talking to you!" a winded woman exclaimed. I glared at her and freed my arm from her grasp, causing her to stumble back with exaggerated alarm. Her display seemed unnecessarily fragile. "Julia, are you okay?" another woman exclaimed, rushing over to support her, her gaze accusatory. "Why are you behaving so violently?" The newcomer queried me. "Who are you?" I asked, genuinely bewildered. "Who am I?" she retorted as though slighted. "Have you forgotten me? It seems so, considering your egocentric nature and lack of manners." I attempted to recall, saying, "I don't remember us meeting before." Her response was incredulous. "What are you talking about? You with just a high school diploma think you can behave with such arrogance? Let me refresh your memory. I'm your sister, Julia. Surely that name stirs something in your depressingly selective memory, yes? And beside me is our mother. How can you claim to not recognize your own family?" Vaguely, I recalled the name. It seemed buried under years of unimportance. Shaking my head slightly, I realized conversing with them earnestly was pointless. They reacted with heightened indignation at my indifference. As the exchange continued, 2 men approached, drawn by the commotion. "What's happening here?" We heard raised voices. One called out. The other noticed. "Julia, aren't you ready yet? You should change out of those clothes for the wedding." "Dad, Daniel," Julia spoke urgently, pointing towards me and exclaiming, "This intruder crashed our wedding. Remove her immediately." The propriety of pointing must have evidently eluded her education. The reactions from the 2 men diverged. The one called Dad displayed surprise, swiftly followed by displeasure. Meanwhile, Daniel seemed struck by shock, his complexion paling. "Why is Hazel here? Especially on such a significant day?" he mumbled. "She must have wandered in by accident." "Quick, summon security," urged Dad. However, Daniel, still perturbed, began, "Wait, consider your words carefully. She is—" At this moment, their attentions shifted as Phillip, my husband, appeared and addressed me. "Hazel, there you are. I've been searching for you." The room's eyes turned to Phillip, who seemed momentarily taken aback. Apologetically, I explained I was returning when some peculiar individuals detained me. Offering a resigned smile, I rejoined Phillip, who assessed our surroundings perceptively. Julia, previously enraptured by Philip's arrival, shifted to a hostile glare aimed at me as I stood by his side. Meanwhile, the so-called parents struggled to grasp the situation, with their expressions betraying bewilderment. Daniel, nervously conciliatory, spoke first. "Mr. Anderson, I regret my wife's inappropriate comment." "Truly my deepest apologies to your wife as well." "Julia, join us in apologizing." "Why should I?" Julia retorted stubbornly, gesturing at me again. "They are the ones who ought to apologize. This disrespectful intruder gatecrashed our ceremonious occasion." Julia's insistence only fueled further tension. Despite not fully comprehending how the air had soured, she stood obstinate, pointing accusatorily once more. Hearing the disgraceful words spoken about the woman in our family, the listener appeared surprised, glancing between me and Julia. Suddenly, those addressed as Mom and Dad interjected. "Oh dear Daniel, we're incredibly sorry, but our eldest daughter has always been problematic." It's been so humiliating and awkward to even bring her up. We've concealed this truth until now. 9 years ago, she was expelled from our home. How could she possibly discover Julia's wedding? What are her intentions coming here uninvited? Seems like she plans to disrupt the wedding. Surprisingly, Daniel, she's not the brightest. She only managed to finish high school and didn't attend university. After graduation, she aimlessly worked part-time jobs, lingered at home, and was an undeniable nuisance. Essentially, she was like a parasite living off us while she should feel grateful we supported her through high school. Why sneak into the wedding? Despite the harsh treatment I received, long ago I severed ties with the family and shrugged off their insults effortlessly. They were indeed my family, as stated by the family registry. However, my parents cherished my sister, who is 6 years younger, and neglected me once I started forming my identity. The family, historically producing generations of doctors, ran a home clinic where my mother worked as a nurse. Outsiders might think our family had no desires unmet, but internally it was toxic. I remember striving for parental love when young, but eventually I gave up because their favoritism towards my sister was unfathomable. She was beautiful, and I was not. Oddly, I was quite intelligent and succeeded academically, so I focused on my studies, hoping to leave home promptly. During those times, I felt like I was acting as the flawed older sister within the family. I will not let you attend university. You are inherently defective, they told me during my senior year. Immediately after high school, secure a job, be independent, and financially support the house. It's thanks to us that someone like you could grow up at all, so be grateful. They continued, for university expenses, we might consider supporting Julia, but nothing for you. Your life will be spent serving us, and even if employed, it's insignificant. Recorded during high school, this conversation has been preserved alongside nearly all recorded verbal abuse and irrational conduct from my family. Julia, witnessing our parents' behavior, also belittled me and asserted dominance, saying, I will become a doctor and take over Dad's work in the future. I'll work hard because my big sister can't. Encouragement followed. Yes, learn from her failures. Do your best, Julia, you can do it. Unlike your sister, you're truly our pride. Such dialogues unfolded blatantly in my presence, akin to watching a performance. After high school, I worked various part-time jobs over 3 years, officially residing at home despite being labeled a nuisance. However, I was not allowed to leave as they sought to use me. Secretly, I rented an apartment, knowing I no longer needed their permission after adulthood. Complications arose, such as needing a guarantor, but I intentionally understated my part-time income, minimizing demands from my family. Investing gradually increased my savings. During Julia's high school entrance exam preparations, she conveniently claimed my presence was distracting, leading to my eviction. My parents assumed I'd return, but for me it was perfect independence. It must have surprised them that someone labeled as incapable didn't return, though it mattered little to them. Having Julia sufficed. 9 years passed, and while deep in thought alone, I overheard a heated argument escalating between Julia and a man named Daniel on what was their significant date. On the day of the wedding, when my sister's name was surprisingly included on the invitation, I dismissed it as mere coincidence and didn't ponder over it much. My interest in this family had waned significantly. Daniel's voice cut through the tension. Why are you defending her? Haven't I been saying she's suspicious? Her mere presence is ruining the ambience. Get her out quickly. I had told you, Daniel began. I was the one who extended the invitation. You reviewed the guest list with me, remember? They've checked in already. They're official guests. Please apologize for what you said earlier, he pleaded, aware of the uneasy tensions brewing just before the ceremony. Out of the blue, my father exclaimed, slightly bewildered. Isn't he the son of the head at Anderson General Hospital? My mother mirrored his surprise. Anderson General Hospital? The well-known one? The chief doctor's son? Julia echoed their astonishment. As those around us stared, Phillip introduced himself graciously. Good day, I'm Phillip Anderson, and this is my wife, Hazel, he greeted, smiling warmly. Philip's parents are respected physicians who have successfully overseen a hospital for countless years, and Philip himself is diligently preparing to follow in their footsteps, passionately studying medicine. My parents, taken aback, felt incredulity sweep over them. Just then my sister's husband interrupted. This is unbelievable. The wife of Dr. Anderson is related to my wife. Can such a coincidence be possible? So we two are relatives now, he remarked, barely concealing his disbelief. Doctor, Wells, I must apologize if my son ever caused any trouble previously. I cut in, addressing him directly. My sister's husband, Daniel Wells, who works as a doctor at a university hospital, had seen my son recently due to some health concerns. But beyond that, our connection remained professional. Phillip evidently held rapport within the medical community, and it seemed Wells admired him greatly. How is he feeling now? From my assessment, I recommend you initiate treatment immediately. He should be hospitalized and tested at my facility, Daniel kindly suggested. However, I explained, we've opted for a second opinion elsewhere. It's crucial for us. His response couldn't conceal the surprise, likely because he viewed my son as a special case. But I was unsettled with my child being perceived as an opportunity. Thus, I politely declined smiling. Out of nowhere, an odd laughter interrupted accusingly. Why behave this way? Are you trying to overcompensate by marrying a doctor despite just being a high school graduate? Do you think it enhances your worth? Your academic achievements remain unchanged, and your thinking is shallow. How unfortunate it is for your child having you as a mother, Julia criticized harshly. Hey, Julia, please stop. We are family. Why keep saying such things? Daniel interjected quickly. Nonetheless, my sister deflected his plea, unwavering in her staunch stance. Suddenly turning to me, Phillip asked, Hazel, are these truly your relatives? With evident skepticism. No, these people no longer represent family to me. A true family wouldn't berate you over insignificant matters or deny you meals over spilling food. They wouldn't mockingly dress me in second-hand outfits retrieved from dumpsters while showering accolades on my sister with designer brands. Nor would they discard my study materials with scornful remarks about my intelligence or soak my textbooks, rendering them unusable. No, they're not my family. True family wouldn't leave you unclothed in the winter frost for not lending a textbook or confine you in scorching sheds during summer days. They wouldn't quietly sell personal belongings or openly declare an expectation of lifelong toil. People in our town have noted the clinic's skewed treatment of their own children, suspecting abuse, thereby choosing other healthcare options. It's quite astonishing nobody reported these issues during our childhood. Now, their business suffers and they fail to realize they're the root cause. This situation exemplifies its gravity. Surprisingly, during our calm exchange revealing the cruelties of my past, Daniel appeared astounded. My parents matched this incredulity upon learning my inside knowledge of their clinic encountering financial distress since my departure. This revelation was uncovered by my in-laws, who, enraged by my tribulations, felt fiercely protective. Phillip aligned with these sentiments, investigating my parents' clinic as a potential avenue for accountability. Stop it! Cease these lies! We didn't commit any of those acts! Yelled my sister, imploring Daniel to reject my narrative. Yet, it was pointless. His gaze now cast aside, overseeing her unjustly. This outcome was inevitable, hinged solely upon her behavior remaining unchanged. Back then, when I was ignored, I wondered how they would react to the truth. Daniel retorted swiftly, It's actually you who are lying. Lying about what? She replied with disbelief, emphasizing that Mrs. Anderson, who they thought was only a high school graduate, was indeed a college graduate. Not only that, but she has become a successful entrepreneur, running a company that provides pivotal services to their clinic. Zio? My sister exclaimed, her eyes wide with shock, as if confronting something truly unbelievable. My parents were equally floored. Stop lying! She's just a high school graduate, my mother accused. Are you telling us she went to college without us even realizing? Indeed, I replied. I went to college because I was an adult and had no need to notify strangers who were not my true family. My father's voice rose. How dare you speak to us, your parents, like that? We never gave you permission to attend college. Calmly, I responded. Why would I need your permission? Their indignation was evident. After high school, I worked multiple jobs and saved up enough money to cover my college fees. During this time, I realized there was so much I wanted to learn, so many dreams to pursue. Living independently strengthened my resolve. While attending college, I started a business and eventually met my husband. Reflecting on this, emotions washed over me. Meanwhile, my sister mumbled faintly with disbelief. I can't believe it. I always thought she was the incapable one, unable to achieve anything on her own. Yet here she stands, a college graduate, a CEO, and married to the heir of a significant hospital. I thought I'd be the successful one. Why is she happier and more successful? It might have been luck, or maybe it was because she never gave up despite the neglect from our own family. I then turned and looked directly at her, revealing a staggering truth. By the way, did I hear correctly that you dropped out of middle school? This revelation left everyone, including my parents and Daniel, appalled. "What nonsense are you speaking?" my sister countered, though I admired her tenacity. "A distant relative informed me that after I left home, you thought too highly of yourself and took exams unprepared, leading to your failure. Following that, you withdrew from society for a long period until our parents arranged your marriage to Daniel," I disclosed. As I spoke, Daniel's expression hardened while my family paled. The relative, a cousin of my father, was reputed for his information gathering skills and had supported me throughout. "How dare you speak such baseless claims?" my sister protested, trembling with anger. "But isn't it true that you don't actually work in medical administration? You lack qualifications and only manage menial tasks," I pressed further. "It's false! It's all false!" she shouted. "Well, rumors do circulate, but belief is at your discretion," I stated. Witnessing Daniel's scrutinizing gaze, Julia faltered. "Julia, you claim to have graduated from a distinguished women's university and were aiding the family hospital. Was that a lie all along?" Daniel interrogated, disbelief creeping into his tone. "No, Daniel," she pleaded, "don't believe her. You're my husband. Trust me." "Then just name one professor from your supposed alma mater," he challenged, leaving her struggling for words. "That's irrelevant." She tried to deflect, but when Daniel suggested reaching out to a family friend from the university to verify, her panic was visible. As Daniel picked up his phone to verify the truth, Julia, in a sudden move, seized the phone and slammed it onto the floor, pleading for the ordeal to end. Driven by anger, Julia smashed the phone onto the ground and stomped on it repeatedly with her high heels, completely obliterating it. Her face was twisted with fury, making her almost appear monstrous. The scene left Daniel and the surrounding people in shock. My parents attempted to calm Julia down, but her rage was not easily pacified. The uproar grabbed the attention of other guests and venue staff, who gathered around looking concerned. A chaotic disturbance unfolded, and despite being present, it felt as if I were detached from what was happening. I realized that my sense of family now only included my husband and son. "Shall we go home? I think we fulfilled our duty here," I suggested to my husband. Philip seemed a bit taken aback and asked, "Are we leaving already, Hazel?" With a calm smile, I answered, "Yes, let's head home. Oh, and let's pick up some cake from the hotel shop on the way back. There's one that's become quite popular recently." Philip nodded in agreement, and we left the venue sharing a light-hearted laugh. Not long after, I learned that Daniel was involved in a lawsuit for false medical diagnoses and overcharging patients. My former parents, facing a dire situation, sought my help but didn't know my current contact details and ultimately appeared at the hospital where my husband works. They attempted to explain that as the daughter-in-law of the hospital heir, it was only natural for them to seek support, emphasizing family loyalty. Unexpectedly, my parents-in-law responded instead of us. They questioned my parents sternly. "What business do you have with our daughter?" Feeling unsettled and caught off guard, my parents quickly left. They tried contacting us multiple times afterward, but their hospital business floundered due to neglect, eventually leading to its closure. When I heard of this, I felt relieved rather than emotional, as if they had received their just desserts. Subsequent news revealed that Julia and Daniel divorced. Surprisingly, their marriage lasted only a few months. Daniel's lawsuit and subsequent firing from his job might have been a blow to their relationship. Julia, seemingly bent on surpassing my happiness, continued making bad choices. Her clandestine affair with an older, married doctor backfired when the doctor's wife demanded compensation, prompting her to seek help from her parents, who disowned her upon deeming her a disgrace. Julia's life took a downturn. After failing her high school entrance exams, she became reclusive, eventually entering the nightlife industry out of necessity, leading to further hardships and eventual health deterioration and homelessness. Her plight reduced my interest in her. Meanwhile, as retirement looms for my former parents, their bad reputation has barred them from finding work as doctors or nurses. These events reflect the repercussions of their past treatment toward me, reducing them to figures of my past. Regarding my son, he received favorable test results at another medical facility, negating the need for hospitalization. His condition has improved significantly with the right medication, and I am committed to doing everything possible to protect my family.